the vault. High atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Catholic. It's Kari Janice. I'm back here with my good friend Mike Walsh.
And we're back at the Rowan Catholic Campus Ministries Newman House.
The best place to be.
I tell you.
On the comfy couches.
You know, the intro to this podcast is always, and now from the vault on the third floor of the Camden Diocese Pastoral Center now. Well, the thing is, you know, this was always intended to be an on-the-road podcast because we wanted to go out and see people. It just happens to be that you have the perfect interview space. So This is lovely.
Here we are.
And since we're recording this probably a few weeks from when this is going to come out, the students aren't here yet. So it's very nice and quiet. And you had your guy in here trying to kill bees, apparently.
Yeah, we're getting things ready. So there's a beehive outside the Newman House that can't really be there when students are in and out. So we're trying to kill it off or get rid of it somehow. So.
I was just happy I'm still able to park on the street out there.
Yeah.
Before the permit
that's the
parking
big
kicks
change
in.
that you noticed. Like I could look out there and see the whole street. And come September, you're fighting for a parking spot out there, and it's crazy because it's such a narrow road that we've had students have their like rearview windows get hit and people fly down here. So if the borough of Glassboro is listening, put some speed bumps on Redmond Ave. That's what we're hoping for, because it has been a little issue. At least being here 1 year now. Actually, I hit 1 year. Oh, we talked about that in the last podcast.
Yeah, but still, it's exciting.
Yeah, so being here 1 year, got to see a whole full, what happens in the summer, what happens when the school starts and winter break. So it's been like nice getting the flow back of college life.
It's a great day today, and I realize that I've actually never been here when it's raining. So I love going places, like seeing what a place looks like in the rain. So I'm hoping by the time this podcast... you have nice big windows here, which is really nice. You have a ton of natural light.
Right.
I actually would like to see it rain outside. I think that'd be nice.
Yeah, it gets a little dark, but...
Yeah, it's good though. I
don't like a rainy day. I like a sunny day.
So, we did that whole podcast on the Catholic ministries of both Rowan and Stockton University. Right. And actually there's a big article, if people listening haven't read it yet, there was a big article about all the campus ministries, including Rutgers campus ministry, that came out a few weeks ago in the Catholic Star Herald. You should check out. But, we didn't actually talk. What are you planning for, like...
Yeah.
What are you going to be doing for the kids when they first come back?
Right. So we have a big welcome back barbecue. That's always been kind of like a constant on the schedule, no matter who the campus minister was. Even when I was here 20 years ago, it was like a thing, right? So it's always just a way to kind of invite everybody in to the ministries, let them see who we are, let them see what we do, let them meet the faces of our e-board leaders, executive board, and Father Rossi and myself, and just let them come and see the space. So we put on a barbecue. It's looked differently in different years. With me being here in my entertainment background, we have cotton candy and popcorn and Mr. Softy coming. And I always say you need like a little like gimmick, right? So
sure,
you said,
of course.
Woo, right?
Yeah,
so like people see Mr. Softy, they know what it is. They see free. And that might be the invitation for them to just see, oh, I'm Catholic. I didn't know there was a Catholic community here at the edge of campus. Let me join this group and check it out. And so that's really what it is. Last year, again, that was my first event here at the Newman House at Rowan Catholic Campus Ministry. And we had over 100 people come through, 100 students, I should say, come through. And it was very successful. And it was busy. A lot of hamburgers being cooked, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, but it was very well attended, which really helped get our word out for who we are. And then some of the students, it's interesting because, some of our regulars are like, people just come for the free ice cream and then they leave. And I'm like, yes, but they will always remember our charity.
That's right.
And they will know where we are and who we are. So that's okay. So you might get some and that's it. That's the only time you see them, but they know who you are. You might get others like that have been there. I can harken back to last year. And some of our freshmen that were there at that barbecue are now on our e-board because they've been around the whole year. So it's a great opportunity to invite the greater student body in, see who we are. And there's a lot of events that take place on campus that week and the first few weeks of September. So they're used to it. Something kind of common like, oh, let me check this one out and that one out. We're, another ministry to check out here. The other thing that's kind of constant then in our schedule is our Wednesday nights. So one of the ways we kind of re-invite those students back in is come back next Wednesday. We have free dinner every Wednesday at 6 and then our meeting at 7. So we tend to get, especially in September, an influx of students and then starts to kind of taper off by mid-October of who's really committed and wants to make this part of their routine of their college career and who is like, I was coming for the free food, but that's enough. So we see, but again, they know we're here. They know we're Catholic. They know where to go if they need a priest for confession or for their ashes or to go to mass on the weekends. And some students really, they don't have the time to commit for another club, because we are a club on campus, but they still want to keep their Catholic faith, so they'll come to just mass on the weekends, and they're part of our community, extension of our community as well at St. Bridget's. So that's kind of the pacing for us looking forward. There's a lot of ministries. We've talked about them in depth last podcast we recorded, but the other big event that I really like to highlight that I'm very excited for
I was going to say, you actually do quite a few things during the year. And this next one you have coming up in October.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool and it deals with a topic that I think sometimes young people have a difficult time with.
Absolutely, especially college young people. So, I kind of set this goal in mind that each year to have a big event on campus with a pretty big name speaker, Catholic speaker particularly. So last year we had Paul J. Kim. Mm-hmm. He's excellent. He was on the podcast. And this year we have Jason Everett. So he's from Chastity Project. Him and his wife, Kristalina, have been doing chastity talks and writing books and podcasts and videos through Chastity Project. Jason's been doing this for a long time now. I had him at Our Lady Peace back in 2013, and he was well established then. So I would say close to 20 years, if I had to take a guess. He's been around, and he's excellent. He's like the Catholic go-to for chastity, and has a lot of big names, speakers and all on his podcast to discuss this topic. And it's a big topic. It's a broader topic in today's day and age for sure. But being on a college campus, we're focusing on dating, what that looks like through the lens of chastity, what that means. It's called Dating 101, and he's going to come in College Dating 101 and share that, not at our Newman House, but in the greater community of our campus. So it's going to be in our Student Center pit, which is the Chamberlain Student Center, and that's on Wednesday, October 4th, 7 p.m. in the Student Center pit. So all are invited, young adults. It's not just limited to Rowan students. Yeah. So any young adult, I would say 18 and over, to even, late 30s. If you're in that dating scene, it's a good talk for you.
I love when you do stuff on campus, particularly when you utilize what is lovingly referred to as the pit. It's actually, it's the Chamberlain Center is sort of like this big open space, and so you have this big round area, huge round area. You can have like 100 people in there, and nice comfortable chairs and stuff like that. And I love when you have events there because everybody goes there, because that's where the food service is, that's where the shops are, that's where the club things are. Everybody's in that place, and there you are being incredibly public with your Catholic faith, because that's where you've done Ash Wednesdays, masses, and the dispersion.
I think it was a service, but yes, it was a mass. Yeah,
and the dispersal of the ashes. I love that. Anytime we can do our Catholic faith out in public. Yeah,
we can't be afraid of that, and I think that's kind of part of the goal with that. Is having our presence there on campus. And last year what we saw is exactly what we wanted. The whole idea came together was we saw Paul J. Kim talking and doing his beatboxing thing, and just people stopping and listening, not knowing what it was and checking it out. So that's the hope again with this message of chastity to these college students that need to hear it so desperately, because of the world and the society that we live in, sometimes to no fault of their own, just being part of the world. Like it's just, you can't escape from it. And so it's a really good message, a really good reminder and reinforcer of the message of chastity to our students who are trying to live out their Catholic faith. So that's the goal with it all. And again, it's open to anyone. You don't need a Rowan ID to get in. You can park in the parking garages up here by Rowan Boulevard and walk down to the Student Center. It is a little under construction right now, the Student Center. So that's the little kind of unfortunate end of this, having this big speaker in the Student Center, is because right now it's not at full capacity of the student body walking through as it normally would be. However, it is still very much utilized for the food services and the shops and things. So definitely come by, check it out. That's Wednesday, October 4th at 7 p.m. Chamberlain Student Center, Rowan University, open to all young adults. Additionally, we'll have them on a podcast.
I know, I'm excited about that.
Spoiler alert, sometime after October 4th-ish, that podcast will come out, and all of our listeners will get to hear from him as well.
And that podcast won't necessarily be on chastity. That podcast could be on a few other things too.
Yeah, it's going to be a mix.
So definitely, come to the event if you're of that age and if you're of that inclination, and then listen to the podcast.
Not only come, but if it's not for you to come, invite your children, your grandchildren. Let them know about it as well. So you might be sitting here listening and saying, oh, well, I'm married for 50 years. I don't need to know about chastity anymore. But maybe your grandchild might need to hear that message. So feel free to invite others as well, not just limited to. And
Jason Everett is very relatable. I mean, this isn't the kind of thing where you need to, it's not going to be necessarily a fire and brimstone kind of thing.
Yeah, we're not talking about like chastity belts here with, under lock and key or anything like that anymore.
Kari. That is officially the first time a chastity belt has been referenced on the podcast, and it wasn't by me. That's amazing. Good job, Kari.
I try.
But it's going to be, he talks to people in ways that they'll understand, and he does it in a very relatable way. In a very comforting way and a very honest way, and I think people will react well to him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he does his homework too. He knows his stuff, and he has like the numbers, the facts, the details to kind of back it up. So it makes it even more credible. You're just like, this guy knows his stuff, but he made it just like, I was able to understand it, and I get it, and now I feel called to live it. So he's great.
I wonder if we're going to cover it.
What's that?
You think the newspaper is going to cover it?
Here?
You think the
Wit?
No, I mean the Catholic Star Herald. You think the Catholic Star Herald is going to cover it?
I mean, aren't you at the head of that?
I can, but
you tell me. I don't know.
Do you want them to cover it?
Yes, of course I do.
Just checking. All right.
I never turn down free press.
No.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm quite aware.
Yes.
So that is wonderful, and I'm glad that we had a nice long podcast about the Catholic campus ministry a few weeks ago, and I'm glad we're talking about it again today.
Yeah.
But that's not what the point of the podcast is today.
Yeah, that was just our chit chat.
Yeah.
And that time is done.
We have an equally interesting actual interview to
Very exciting interview. Yeah, I'm really excited. So.
Well, it was your idea, man.
Yeah, I know.
It was my idea. Technically, it was my idea. My idea was that over the course of the last 5 years, that we've had the podcast, 5 years? 6 years? 6 years.
I wasn't with you from the beginning.
6 years, yeah. 6 years. So we've had the podcast. We've always wanted to make sure that we could have religious communities on from time to time. And I have not done a very good job of it. You, on the other hand, have been doing a fantastic job of it from time to time, inviting.
They're all my friends.
Well, that's good. Apparently, I need new friends.
Yeah.
Just inviting people on from time to talk about, their religious community. Mm-hmm. Their own vocation, what their charisms are. And you picked another great one for this week. And actually, it's fun. It's nice because the person, we have 3 people on, but one of them is actually a repeat guest that we had on in the very first year.
Yeah, so
2017,
exciting.
June 21st, 2017. She was a guest on our
So you
podcast.
can remember that, but you can't remember,
Yes.
Come back to, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't remember a lot of things.
All right, go Mike.
So, who do we have with us today?
Yes, so we have the Franciscan Missionaries of the Infant Jesus. The sisters are here. We have 3 lovely sisters here, and I'm going to let them each introduce themselves.
Yes, hi. My name is Sister Michele. Hi, my name is Sister Michele De Gregorio. And I am currently the principal at St. Margaret Regional School in Woodbury Heights. And I have been with the Franciscan Missionary Sisters of the Infant Jesus for 43 years.
Wow.
Ooh,
God
that's
bless
awesome.
you.
Wow.
So, I'm happy to be here.
Glad to have you,
you.
sister.
And to our returning guest?
My name is Sister Dianna. I am also a Franciscan Missionary of the Infant Jesus. I've been with our community since 1986, so 30 plus years.
Wow.
37.
God bless you.
And I'm currently serving as Director of Campus Ministry at Paul VI High School. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for asking us.
Yeah, thanks for coordinating. Sister, you were my contact. I have your number, so texting a sister is just great. Like, hey, sister, how are you? Can you be on this podcast? And sister responded right away. I love
Absolutely. Text me anytime.
Thank you.
Well, careful with that. She texts me anytime. And to our final guest?
My name is Sister Cecilia. I am Italian. I arrived here last week to live in Cherry Hill with the other sister. I made my first profession in 2012, so more than 10 years that I am a sister, and this is my new path in my vocation to be here in New Jersey. Happy to be with you.
Thank you, Sister Cecilia.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
I love a good Italian accent. I'm like, I felt like I was just walking through the streets of Assisi right now, just hearing her voice. I'm like, I love Italy.
Good
to
it's
have
funny.
you, sister.
So I've actually worked with all of our sisters at one point or another.
Yes.
But I got to meet Sister Cecilia in Assisi when I was on the pilgrimage to Israel and Italy. It was great.
I remember seeing those pictures.
Yes.
I'm like, yay, they got the...
It's a big surprise
Yes.
for me also.
My sister was telling me the story, and she said, I just opened the door, and there was the bishop. And I'm like, hello, I know you. And I said, that's so great.
It was funny because we had gone out to lunch. It was myself, Father Hughes, Bishop Sullivan, Father Gormley, and they were kind enough to invite me to lunch with them. It's a funny story because it was also the experience of my first cup of coffee ever.
Welcome in Italy.
Thank you. I felt truly welcomed when that happened. I had my first espresso, and it was
So proud of you, Mike.
I know. I'm patting myself on the back right now. And then when we went to visit, it was funny. We were literally walking along the streets of Assisi. We'd only gotten there 2 hours ago, and Bishop Sullivan goes, "We need to go to the convent," in his Bronx way.
Right,
He's like,
right.
I was like, "Oh, okay, Father, or okay, Bishop, we'll go to the convent." So we walk over and knock on the door, and the door opens, and there's a bunch of stunned sisters in there that the bishop has called upon them. But they invited us in so welcomingly, and
great.
it was actually lovely. Gave us a great tour of the beautiful grounds there. The grounds,
Yes,
because
this
is that the
is-
mother house?
Yes.
The grounds there are absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
I would, because you have people come in for seminars and things like that, right? You have educational opportunities
yes,
there?
we have. This is the chapel where our mother founder is, and there are some fraternities on that space, that area of Santa Maria degli Angeli, and this is for us. House of formation, our novitiate, Italian novitiate is there, one welcoming house for young people, and a spirituality center, and a fraternity who works also in a school and takes care of this of the ancient part of the house where also our mother foundress lived. So each one of us is very love this place.
Right.
Well, I love it too,
Yes.
and I'm not even a member of the community.
Yes.
And the coolest part is, listen. I realize I'm a babe in the woods when it comes to everything, but they they invited us in for coffee, they had a coffee vending machine, and
So cool. I know.
It made me very happy.
I've seen them before.
It was my first
in my
cappuccino. It was
trips to
delicious.
Italy, but I'm glad that you got to experience it, Mike.
That's what I'm saying. I am so a kid out of Nowheresville,
It's
South
exciting.
Jersey.
I know.
I know. I'm
But
just-
sister, do
I'm a
you
hick.
go back to the mother house at all? Is that something you have to do as part of your vocation?
Yes, we usually have anywhere from 6 months to a year of experience there, either right prior to final vows, or for me, I
Okay.
went right after. And we have an opportunity to visit our mother house, see the tomb of our foundress that's in the chapel there. We have an opportunity to go to Aquila, which was our foundation house, where our mother foundress lived and began the community. Spend some time in Rome. While we were there, also, we studied Italian in Perugia. And so when I was there with another sister, we stayed at the infirmary with the older sisters, which was a really great experience, because here we don't have, well, we're not a whole lot of sisters anyway, but over there I heard stories from sisters about, being in religious life, like during World War II, and what that was like, and the sacrifices that they made. It was really a great experience to learn from the faithfulness of those sisters and to be able to serve. It's kind of like a nursing home for the sisters. And I went with a sister who was a geriatric nurse. And I thought, she's going to love it at the infirmary because that's her element.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to love it because I'm going to be like a fish out of water there. And instead, I loved every single solitary minute I was there.
great.
And after I stayed a little longer than the other sister, so when she left, our Mother General said, well, where would you like to go? You're still here for another month. And I said, I'd love to go back to the infirmary because I just felt so at home there, and in such admiration of the sisters and the faithful life that they had lived. It was really a grace. So
a lot of wisdom there, I'm sure, to learn from.
Very much.
This would be a good time to talk about the community in general. So, Sister Michele, what can you tell us about your community?
Community. So, we were founded, as Sister said, in the city of Aquila, which you'll have to forgive me, but I'm a history teacher, so that's going to happen when I'm talking.
That's fine. I'm a history major, so go at it.
Okay. So our foundress was born in Sulmona, Italy, and she founded our community in a nearby town, which is actually the capital of Abruzzo, in Aquila. And she had been a third order Franciscan secular, but noticed that there was a great need at that time. It was in the late 1870s, after there had been a war for unification of Italy, and a lot of displaced persons and a lot of widows and families with children who had no place to go or whatever. So she noticed that there was this great need for two things. One was certainly catechesis, so passing on of the faith. The other was teaching especially girls tasks that would have allowed them to help support their family at that time. So, and it sounds mundane to us, but it might have been something like learning to embroider, learning to sew, learning to do laundry, because that's what a lot of the poor did. They hired themselves out for those kinds of things. But Mother, along with her blood sister and a companion who recognized that Mother had this particular charism, said, that's what I want to do. God is asking me to do that. Mother Vicentini. So they gathered together and they created the community. And it was our foundress, Mother Mary Joseph, who really wanted to be very, very close to the Franciscan order. And she had her spiritual director was a friar minor. And so when she answered the call and actually founded the community, the Father General of the OFM actually invested our Mother Foundress with the Franciscan habit. And that's why we, one of the reasons why we maintain the habit as we do. Some communities have changed to kind of modernize in a way. And I think the Franciscan habit is such a symbol for us because it was literally, Mother was invested with it. And it has that powerful sign power, with it. And so little by little, she opened, I guess, what we would consider an orphanage. They had some day students, but also orphans there. And little by little, as the community grew, they founded other houses in Italy and all of that. Just real quickly, in 1927, we opened our first foreign mission, and that was in Peru. And, there was the Holy Father at the time. There was a call for communities that were, maybe just regional or whatever, to really think about going to the foreign missions. And so our institute responded to that by sending our sisters to Peru at first. And really, little by little, we began to, I want to say, kind of take on that image of truly being missionaries. There's an aspect of religious life that every sister, every brother, whatever, we are missionaries, even as baptized lay people. We have a mission, but this kind of this identity of being missionaries really kind of was taking root. And so little by little, we were able to, as the congregation grew, to open a variety of different foreign missions, including coming to the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many houses in the U.S.? Are you the only one?
Right now, we have 2 houses in the U.S. If we want to say our base, so to speak, is Cherry Hill. Mm-hmm. I personally am living at St. Margaret's in Woodbury Heights. Okay. And where we have a school.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
That is the beauty, is that you talked about earlier about the habit and the fact that you've maintained the habit as a community. Two of you certainly work in our schools. Sister Michelle's the principal at St. Margaret's, and Sister Dianna works in Paul VI High School. I have to imagine it's a great opportunity. I always think like a PR guy. It's a great opportunity for the people to see you because it's so recognizable. Do the kids, particularly for you, Sister Michele, because you have such young kids who will say whatever thought pops into their head, when they see you in habit, I mean, is that something that you think resonates with them?
I think it does. It's funny, like sometimes I'll be standing there and there'll be little kids around and, who's pulling on my cord and who's fingering my rosary beads or whatever,
So
and they'll ask questions about it. And it's funny because sometimes we open up our convent chapel, let's say during Lent, and teachers, I say, sign up and you can go over to our convent chapel and like have the Stations of the Cross or make a visit to the, Jesus in the tabernacle, whatever. And it's funny because sometimes I'll be there and the kids are, they're hugging me and they're grabbing my rosaries or whatever. And they're like, I've been to your house. You have a church in your house.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I do. So they're very interesting. And there was a very cute story that I would just share. It was last year, the very first day of school. And usually I gather with the teachers first. We pray together and make any announcements. And then the children are coming into the building and so forth. And so I went out and I was at the front door and parents are dropping children off. And there was a little girl and she was brand new, had never, been to our school before. She was a second grader. And so I really didn't even know her name at that moment. Like,
Right.
There's so many little cute blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls, and I'm like, I really don't know her name, but she was walking up. She had this big smile on her face, and I'm like, "Hi, honey, how are you?" And she just immediately hugged me, and I walked her to the door, and later on, the mother said, "Sister, I was worried." She said, "But when I saw my daughter greet you like that," she goes, "I knew I had the right place."
Yeah.
So
That's
it's,
special.
you would almost think, sometimes you hear those horror stories from years gone by where the kids were afraid of the nuns.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case. I mean, I don't want it to be.
No.
I mean, I spent many, many years teaching 7th and 8th grade. There were times I wanted them to be afraid of me.
Yes.
And perhaps they were, but like in a balanced way.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. It's not that
and-
terror, that fear.
Yeah, a little bit. They, because I could joke with them, but they knew when I was serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like my goal really is I want the children to come and this is part of our founders' charism, to do all things in love, in the love of Jesus, And so, and I even say this, to, let's say, my vice principal, who's kind of the disciplinarian type, I say, I would rather be accused of being too charitable than too mean, or too harsh.
Yeah.
And so even our founders, her thing was, correct with love. Whatever you do it with love.
So beautiful.
And so I want the children to feel free to talk to me and not be, put off by the habit or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I love
they
that.
don't seem to be, which is great.
I love the habit. I was just telling Sister Cecilia, we were here, she was here. Now you're a student now at Rowan, coming up this semester, right,
Yes,
Sister?
English
and
course.
You and your other sister as well, two of you, are taking the class, the ESL
Yes.
class. And I said, I am so excited to have sisters on our campus because there's power in the habit.
There is.
And I gave her a bunch of, PR, you'll love this, Mike. I gave her a bunch of our information cards and I said, carry these with you because students might say, oh, sister, I'm Catholic. Like, can you tell me where the nearest church is? And you can just feed them right into the Newman Center because there's power in the habit. Like me walking across campus, nobody would even care. But sister walking across campus, two sisters walking across campus, it's going to turn some heads, and I love it. It's great PR. It's
because
great
you're-
for the faith.
And because you're a student here, you can come here anytime you want and hang out with the rest of the students. So.
Oh, don't worry. I gave her a parking pass. She's ready.
Yes, we are.
She
We
has
are
a schedule.
here, really.
Yeah.
I found now once again the gate open of this house, Newman House. I stayed here 3 months in this winter, and each week with another sister we came together on Monday for the mass and breakfast together. I think this is an appointment also
a ministry
for the
of
next year.
Of the Catholic Campus Ministry. Yeah, you took part in that, and our students loved it. The weeks you couldn't come, they were like, "Oh, the sisters aren't here." They were like sad. And when you left, we were so sad when you had to go back to Italy for that brief time, and now you're back. So it's so wonderful.
Yes, and I feel really like in a house, a known place, and this is for me a really important thing. A presence also of the tenderness and the care of God for each one of us.
Mm-hmm. And you, when you were in Italy, sister, you worked with young adults as well, right? That was part of your
in
work
Italy,
with youth and young adults. So you're drawn to it.
With the young people in the house, which I mentioned before, in Assisi, and also in other reality, mostly of the time with the Franciscan friars, but also in the parish. And this is always an occasion to live my vocation, to share with the other sister our mission, to be Franciscan, to be Christian, to be a fraternity in the world, and the occasion to say to each one of the young people that we met that your life is blessed, your life is precious, God is near to you, and you can there is this great love for you, and for us announce the message of the gospel is to try to share with everyone, with young people, the life of Jesus, the real life for everybody.
Yeah. Speaking of young people, I wanted to go back to Sister Dianna. So we heard Sister Michele talk about life as in a grade school and how the students react to her and how the parents have reacted to her. What's it like for you working in some place where there's a great deal more sarcasm and, and worldliness?
Nah. Surely you jest. Of course I'm partial. I think that we have some really, really awesome kids in our school. We have really great kids. And I've never felt different in a sense, in a negative way. Kids come and they'll ask questions. They come and they'll ask, can you pray for me? I had a few times this past year, a couple of the kids, I'd go in, like sometimes I'll sub in a classroom or I'll go in to make announcements or whatever. And sometimes subbing, like there's a couple of kids, they'll say, sister, could you pray for, my grandmom or whoever? And I'm like, absolutely. Do you think we could pray right now? Certainly, absolutely, certainly. And it's great because maybe there are 2 or 3 kids that are, asking, but now there's 30 kids in the room who are now gathered spontaneously to pray for someone. Yeah. I think that's great.
It's the beauty of being in a Catholic school, to be able to just break into prayer at any moment.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
So the kids, we have liturgies regularly, and I have a slew of kids who are ready to read, altar serve, usher. This past year, we trained several of our seniors as Eucharistic ministers.
Oh, nice.
So, the kids are really interested. They stop in, they ask questions. I've never felt that they look negatively at habit or anything else, but I think they're appreciative of having, a sister in the school.
Yeah.
We had the Filipini sisters at the school for many, many years since it opened. And our principal retired 2 years ago. This will be the second year with a lay principal who does a great job, but we miss the presence of the sisters.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you the only sister present at Paul
At this point, yes, I'm the only sister present. So.
And how about in St. Margaret's School? Are there other sisters?
Right now at St. Margaret's, again, we had a sister who taught accelerated math, and she was so excellent. But she was returned to the Philippines, and So right now, we just got, along with Sister Cecilia, who just came, we got a sister from the Philippines, Sister Josie. And for this year, she's not going to be a full-time teacher, but she is going to be in the school every day. And I have her doing some campus ministry things,
nice.
kind of on the elementary school level, so that she can get acclimated to our way of doing Catholic school here in the United
Right.
States. And she was a teacher in the Philippines. So the goal is that, next year she'll actually come on as a full-time faculty member. So, and then of course we have one of our sisters is the DRE in our parish, and she's very visible in this school too, especially because she directs all of the sacramental, preparation and
Yeah.
things like that. First Holy Communion, penance, confirmation. So she's also very visible in the school. And she's also from the Philippines, by the way.
How many sisters in total here?
In the United
Yes.
States, we're 14.
Wow, that's a good number.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
great.
So this is an order that was established in Italy, and its mother house is in Assisi. So how does someone from Millville join it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the quick and easy story is that I was often referred to in my childhood as a rectory brat, which, I'm not really, I don't understand the reference of brat part, but whatever. My grandmother became the housekeeper at our parish. And at the time, she was a live-in housekeeper. It was back in the day when, the housekeeper had a little apartment off the kitchen, and then, the rest was the priest's residence. And I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother. And so when I did that, I also had an opportunity to visit or bother, however you want to look at that, the sisters in the parish. And so over the years, apparently, and I have no recollection of it, apparently my family said that I used to say all the time, when I was little, like 5 or 6, whatever, that I was going to be a sister, like Sister Elizabeth.
So
I don't have any recollection of that really, but that's what they say. So during my whole childhood, my grandmother was, the rectory housekeeper. And so we got to be very, very friendly with our pastor. And I was around the sisters all the time. And so I wanted to, what I wanted to do with my life as an adolescent and a young teenager was to be a superstar. Okay, so I participated. I was a musician. I sang, played the guitar, started doing acting and things like that locally, and that was my plan. And then there was this vocation talk in the parish, and all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went on, and I was like, I think God wants me to do that. That's weird,
And how old were you when you heard
at that point I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of pursued it, like talked to the sisters that I knew and things like that. And I didn't know our sisters at all. And I knew a priest who lived at the rectory. And because I had told my grandmother I wanted to be a sister, she had to blab it to like all the priests at the rectory,
She was so proud, I'm sure.
Yeah, well,
she was so excited.
So this priest at the rectory knew our sisters actually because everybody was going to Glassboro State College, and they met this priest, and he knew our sisters, and he said to me one day, "I want you to meet this group of sisters, whatever, blah blah blah," and I did, and actually I came to visit them with a friend of mine a couple of times, and I was like, wow, I think I felt like at home. There was this feeling of this is right, because I had gone and visited another community of sisters who I love dearly, but it didn't feel right. And I kept saying to myself, I think it's just because I'm young. I need to really wait, whatever. But when I met our sisters, there was this sense of belonging, almost right away. And then so little by little, I began to really discover in myself what was God calling me to. And it's so interesting how the Spirit works, because it was like I was discovering my charism, so to speak, and then it's like matching my charism with where God is leading me. And I think when I was younger, don't think I could have articulated that I had a Franciscan vocation, but clearly that's what God had planned for me, and it just kind of gelled, and so I requested, to enter our community, and I graduated from high school in June of '79, and I entered at the end of August that summer.
Wow.
And ever since, straight through.
Been here ever since.
That's incredible.
Now, what about from a girl from Central Jersey?
Yes, that's right. Central Jersey. It does
It
exist.
exists.
Yes, it does.
Does
It's
it?
official. I heard it's official now.
I don't think
Yes.
so.
The governor
the
still
governor.
claims it.
I'm from North
yes.
Jersey. I live in South Jersey. There is a Central Jersey.
There is a Central Jersey. I'm glad that you are clear on that. So
I'm not sure.
I was also, I did not enter right out of high school, but I first started thinking about a religious vocation in high school. I was a sophomore, I think, when I first started thinking, but my thinking was like, how do I want to live my life? What kind of values do I want to make my own? I guess every adolescent kind of gets to that point where you trying to decide who you want to be, in a sense. So as I was thinking about that, I said, well, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Christian, so I suppose my values should be those values of Jesus. So I asked myself then, okay, so what do those values look like? Okay, well, Jesus was born in a stable, laid in a manger, and had nowhere to lay his head, so he lived a poor life. Nowhere do we read where Jesus had family, girlfriends, children. So from what we see in Scripture, he lived a chaste life. And whenever he was going to do something important in his life, from calling the disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane, whenever something was important to him, he went off to pray first to do the will of the Father. So I thought, okay, well, that's like poor, chaste, and obedient. And then I was like, oh, that's religious life. Yikes, And so I was like, yeah, but probably not. So I kind of put it off, because my plan was to go to college, Glassboro State College, by the way.
Keeps coming back to
Where I met Sister
this
Michele.
place
That's
right
another
here.
story.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of, I said, well, that's probably not true, whatever. So it was on the back burner. But then I was a junior in high school, and I was very pro-life at the time, still am. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine knew that. So she said to me, there's some sisters at our parish, the next town over, who I had never met. And they're taking some high school students, to a rosary rally at Planned Parenthood. She goes, I thought you might like to go. I'm like, absolutely. It was December 8th, because we had no school.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
December 8th of my junior year. So I went, which actually it must have been December 8th, 1979. Yeah, I think it was. 79. That was the 100th anniversary of our foundation.
Oh.
So I went. So she picked me up, parked in the parking lot, and then we were walking up the sidewalk. Now, I had never actually seen a sister in a habit, ever. Mm-hmm. And as we're walking up the sidewalk, there were a couple of other high school students at the door, and this sister opened the door, and she was dressed in our habit, had a black apron on that was over top. And as she opened the door, this thought went into my head, and I can't say I thought it. It was like it popped into my head like it was the Spirit, and the thought was, I don't know if I'm really going to do this, but if I do, it will be there, because anything less than that is a half a gift of myself.
Oh, wow.
Like, what high school junior
That's
even
profound,
thinks that?
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the first time I met our sisters. So we're in the car going over, and we're coming back, and I was asking a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. A lot about sacraments. And this sister was answering my questions and making sense. And I was like, so she invited me to a Bible group, like a Bible study. And so I went to college and stayed in touch, through my college. And eventually, as a college junior, I finally, long story short, had a conversation with her about religious vocation. And that was kind of the beginning of my discernment. Now, at that point, which is another aside, I was studying here. And I was in Robinson Hall, and I see this sister down the hall, and I'm like, that looks like a really familiar habit. So I go down, I talk to this sister, and I'm like, are you the same sisters that are up in Highlands? And she was like, oh yeah, that's Sister Teresa, this one, that one. I go, oh yeah, I know them very well. You know, we went on this, you know, we're in touch with them, this and that. It was Sister Michele who's sitting next to me.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Small world.
So we
Here
talked
at
a while.
Rowan.
Yeah.
Glassboro.
So we talked a while, and I was on the run at that point. I was like not really ready to make a decision. So I saw Sister Michele many times after that from afar, because if I saw her at the end of the hallway, I went around.
Sure.
So I didn't have to talk to her, because I thought if I keep talking to this sister, she's going to think I have a vocation or something. And
I used to say, hey, look, there's that girl from Highlands. Why is she running the other way?
we laugh about it now all the time.
That's so funny.
Yeah, we lived together for a number of years.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
They, you know, great years. And so I said, gosh, we could have had this beautiful friendship years before, but you know, I was on the run.
Isn't that every vocation story that I've talked to with a priest?
It's-
It's always like, I did my best not to become whatever I was about to
You
become.
can't run from God.
And no, man, there's no
Absolutely
escape.
not.
I love
He
that.
pursues,
I
he
absolutely love
pursues.
that.
God is very patient.
Yes.
He'll wait you out. Thankfully, because at this point, I'm happy with my life. I love my vocation.
Sure.
You know, if there's anybody listening who's discerning or thinking about it, like, my advice would be, give it your best shot. You got nothing to lose. If it's not for you, then you'll know.
Right.
But
That's true.
you know, if it's for you, you're blessed, and you know,
So
otherwise
true.
you miss a great opportunity.
Yes.
You do. You know, I try to the young people I speak to semi-regularly, who I think have a vocation. You know, that's exactly what I tell them. Is that, you know, there's no harm in going. That's why it's called a discernment process. You know, start it up. If you don't, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's sad for the church when someone leaves, but it's a beautiful thing, because we end up having a great Catholic layperson because of that time they spent either in seminary or in religious life, discerning, and like, give it a try.
Right.
You know, it's better to find out and walk away than
Then
never
what if?
know.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. I mean, God works in all of the, you know, events and moments in our life, and you know, He'll work good and bring something good out of every situation. So if you give it your best shot and you find it's not for you, you've learned something, you've grown, and that's for the good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So, Sister Cecilia, what is your vocation story? Coming from being part of an Italian group, an Italian community, and actually living in Italy.
Yes. I met these Franciscan sisters in Assisi when I went with my parish for a weekend, like a little retreat. And it remains in my heart that these sisters, without knowing me, they take care of me, of my group, of the young people. And this is one important memories, because after a few months, it was 2006, it was also a sad years for me, because two friends of mine died in a car, well, one motor accident and bike accident. And also me, I had a little accident, and it was for me like a surprise, say, well, why I am alive?
Yeah.
They no more. Me, yes. The life was suddenly a big gift, without my merit, without her faults. It was like a reality that I found in my hands. And I went back to Assisi because of these memories. There I can find people, sister, and also I knew that time the friars. I called now the church. I found there the church, another home where people can listen to me, can listen to my story, and help me searching my vocation. That's why I went there other times. And the big gifts for me, not first of all the Franciscan vocation as sister, but before this, the gift and the meeting with the Word of God, like a light on my life and a way to stay in the personal relationship with Jesus, and the gift of a spiritual guide as a mother and father, our sister and one friar. They were listening to me, and we began together with the help of the Word of God to see some moments in my personal life, and really it had been a meeting of reconciliation, of peace, of blessing, of a lot of things that in that moment for me, I was 20, were only problems, things that I don't like. So a path of reconciliation, a path of blessing. And then the question of the accident. I am alive. What should I do with my life? Who I am? And as she said, it has been not my thinking, but I found inside of myself this reality, this truth. My vocation is the Franciscan sister. In the certainly point that God loves my freedom. He does not nothing if I don't want. So I never had the experience that I was obliged to do something, but it was my yes, my little first yes, in the power of the vocation, in the power of the Word of God, meeting a fraternity, and it changed my life. And well, as I said, my last step is to be here.
Right.
Wow.
So powerful.
It really is.
The Lord uses everything. Rowan University, car accidents.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know, by the way, we've referenced Glassboro State College a couple of times.
Yeah.
Glassboro State College, for anyone who doesn't know, is now Rowan University. That's why
we should all know the Rowan history.
And it's actually kind of nice because that means there's 5 students of Rowan University.
All of us in this room, yes.
Yeah.
It connects us all.
It really, actually, it's kind of disturbing now that I think about it.
It's exciting for me. I have so much love for this university.
You know, I really do
So
too.
much.
It's one of the reasons why we moved to Glassboro was that I wanted to be closer to the university to raise our son, and I love living. I love it a little less now than I did 10 years ago because the neighborhood's changed a little bit. But
Right.
I love living this close to the university and being able to utilize the resources of it and stuff like that. So, you know.
True. Yeah. It's a great place to be, and it's so beautiful. Like I said, to have sisters connected to it, even back then and now, currently, just to hear these stories of sisters on campus to turn minds, turn hearts really towards the Lord.
Yeah.
True. I returned here. I guess I graduated again from here with a master's degree in special education. That was my field at the time. So I returned here as a sister many years after graduating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And was it Rowan then, or was it Glassboro State? still?
It was just changing into Rowan. So the year I graduated, I think I got 2 degrees. One says Glassboro State College and the other says Rowan. I don't think I can really count that as 3 degrees. But
You got 3 certificates.
I do. Yes, I do.
You know what? I want to give a shout out to the Newman House because so I entered right after high school, and my postulancy year, that's the first year when you're in community, I was a full-time student. I lived at the convent, but I came here to, Glassboro State College every day.
Right.
But I hung out at the Newman Center in between my classes.
Oh, there.
So,
yeah, the one on 322.
Yeah.
Yes, that was mine too. So
Yeah.
I
That was mine, too.
affectionately love that one as
And
well.
I know, like, during the winter, I could get a nice cup of hot cocoa or something like that.
and that
at the
warm
Newman
place
House.
to stay and hang.
Yeah.
I know. We're so grateful for Newman Houses, Newman Centers, these communities. Like all 800 college campuses have them, whether it be a physical building or the ministry itself. And I have those fond memories as well from when I was here, as you do. We're blessed with them.
My wife went to the exact same one, the one on 322, and she says the exact same thing. It was the thing that like kept her close to her faith while she was here, and it makes a big difference. So that's true. But it also makes a big difference to see wonderful sisters in our communities, like out and about, as well as being in our schools. You know, it's I grew up with sisters in my grade school, and I grew up with sisters in my high school, and I will admit that I was never afraid of any of them. They were the most welcoming people. I was afraid of mouthing
I'm gonna
off.
say it's different for me.
Oh, really? No,
Yes.
no. Actually, I had one of the coolest sisters ever, and I didn't know it until I left. It was Sister Gertrude Mary was at Gloucester Catholic, and here's something for you. She worked on the Manhattan Project. You know, the thing that developed the A-bomb? She was one of the scientists that worked on it.
Awesome.
She taught chemistry there, and she played tennis in full habit basically until she was like 92 or something like that. She was one of the most amazing people. She is my mother's favorite religious woman of her entire life. And I have to admit, she might be mine too. Yeah. Even years later. But sisters, thank you all for joining us today on the podcast. This is really wonderful.
Thank you for having us.
And I hope our listeners, if you know anyone who might be considering, might be the person who might or should be considering a vocation into religious life, say something to them, because sometimes, we say, well, God never spoke to me. Sometimes God speaks through things. So maybe he's speaking to you to make that suggestion to somebody else. So if you know someone who could join a religious order or the priesthood, don't keep it to yourself. Say something. Yeah. You say something. You say stuff all the time, don't you?
I will all the time.
She tells everybody.
Yes.
Even if they don't, she tells everybody. All right. Well, thank you very much, sisters. It was great having you on.
Thank you
and
so much.
listeners, and we'll be back again next week. See you, everybody.
God bless.